Well, hello and welcome back to the Andrew Eborn Show. And in this series, regulars will know that we've been looking at the issues that are facing the world, particularly about the climate, about environment degradation, but also on a more positive front, looking at the various solutions that are out there, cutting through the jargon and having a look at peer-verified solutions so people can make informed decisions. Well, a regular on this show is now my good friend whose name I can always get right. It's Pratik, and it's a joy to welcome you back. How are you, Pratik?
Well, Andrew, thanks for getting me on the show again. Nice to hear from you.
It's always good. Now, you've been on regularly talking about different solutions to various problems. When you yourself are an investor in this space, talk to me about the process that you go through when looking at these solutions.
Absolutely. So firstly, I am a very cautious investor, but I also am an active role. I play an active role in the companies as well, as much as I can, so that the guidance is provided and therefore it can go into the right stage. So what I look at this problem is, firstly, have they identified a problem, or is it just one of the hype-led things that they have set up a company for? Secondly, do they actually have strong technical backgrounds? And I prefer a strong technical background because commercialization can be added. The technical aspect is much harder. And by technical background, I also mean, do they have any IP protection? And how strong is that IP protection? What is the IP developed? So I am a very technical person in that sense. And I look at many investors will just look at, oh, there's a patent protection, that's fine. Whereas I am actually looking into the patent and seeing how strong is this patent and the protection provided by it. Yeah. But that's the major part. And then comes in the business case. Of course, what is the business case? Is this process sustainable, or is it just purely profit-based? I would rather have a process which has a slightly lower profit margin, but is actually not only solving the problem, but it's a sustainable solution which attempts for circularity. And it's not because of anything else. It's the fact that at the end of the day, if you have a process that's designed to be economical and sustainable, it will turn to be much more profitable in the longer end anyway. And of course, it's better for the planet.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the whole thing about sustainability investment. It's a lot of people think capitalism is bad, but actually you're doing two things, aren't you? You're firstly making the world a better place, literally, but also there's an opportunity to make significant profits.
Absolutely. And this is absolutely the goal. I mean, we can't stop capitalism, or there's no point in doing that. In fact, if done correctly, most of these processes would be significantly improving the current existing methods, and people are happier. Now, I'll give an example. The first thing I've actually looked into, some of the CEOs haven't been able to point out to the figures, and I'm a numbers person, as we've seen.
Oh, I know your numbers. You're normally
and then when they come to me and say, "Oh, we don't have these numbers," or they don't know the numbers, and I'm like, "Look, I'm not being antagonistic here. I just want you to have your numbers, and I would not speak with people who don't know their numbers, because if the CEO or the CTO don't know everything about their business, there is some really, really strong concern." And there are many cases where you have these things where the CEO and CTO say, "Well, we've hired the right expert for this, we've hired the right expert for that." And I'm like, as I'm not asking you to give me exact values of, oh, what's this step in this aspect of the recipe, but I would like you to know all of your numbers without a problem as far as the grand scheme of things is concerned, especially for a startup.
Yeah, it's got to be right. I mean, it's the sort of traditional dragon's den approach, isn't it? You can't go in front of people and ask for money unless you understand the market. Is there a hole in the market, and is there a market in the hole?
Absolutely. But we are far, I'm far nicer and politer than the dragons. But I do absolutely prefer that they have their numbers. And so it's a very, very selective process. So I actually only see very few people for the investment side of things until I see there's a clear case that they can demonstrate what they've done.
And it is, and it's that demonstration, but also, as you say, it's that bundle of rights and getting clarity about the IP, the intellectual property. And we've been talking on this series about some things which are coming up, and you can't tell too much detail in case it ruins the opportunity to get a patent, for example.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and that's really important, and that's what I tell everyone, that you have to have your and this is something that I'm very open to. That I sign up to non-disclosure agreements, which most venture capitalists would not, and I understand why they're doing it. And I just simplify this process, saying, "Oh, I'm happy to do that, as long as I find out what's going on with them." And frankly, it also gives me an idea of what their technique is, and what is the current thinking and the state of affairs in this marketplace. But that's important, I think, for the person to know what they're in the business for. So the motivation of the founders, especially, is something that's absolutely necessary to find out, because there's limited time out there. Money is available a lot in many places. It's not difficult. Time, on the other hand, is really valuable. So you want to put in the time and effort, especially as the investor. You have limited time. You want to put in time and effort in companies that are actually with people who care what they're doing, as opposed to, oh, this way we can raise some money, run this and see if it works. And that is something that I would completely not even touch with the barge pole.
Oh, no, absolutely. And it's a common theme, isn't it? If you're giving top tips to people starting up, first of all, make sure that your rights are protected. My background, as you know, is an intellectual property lawyer, and we're always talking to people about making sure that their rights are right, because you could mess up the whole business early on by disclosing it, chatting to people and so on and so forth. It could absolutely ruin your chances of being able to get any sort of patent protection. So do make sure right at the very beginning you get those processes in place. But also, as you pointed out, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. If you're going to talk to investors, make sure you get your facts and figures, you understand the market, you make sure things have been peer tested to the extent that's possible, and you come with those hard facts and figures, because it will make it more attractive.
Absolutely. And the most important thing, which I've said, is actually the ingenuity that people can do with how little money they can spend to do their R&D. I know a person, and I've done a similar thing myself in some cases, just to demonstrate that it could be done, was the fact that we set up incubators and things from very, very, low-cost systems. And then the other person is running his billion-dollar company at the moment, because he started off with running it at a low cost at the beginning. And that's what that's something that's important. Look, you don't have to buy shiny kit off, new kit, use all this money in that space to do some of these things, which can be designed. And that's something that I've noticed. It's time and again, people buy very expensive kit to demonstrate something which could have been done with a far lower cost, just because they've got, oh yeah, I can buy this off the shelf.
And at what stage then? I mean, you raise that point. You say there's lots of money, really encouraging for people who do have solutions out there. At what stage should they come and discuss the possibility of investment?
It's usually once they've had a proof of concept in the lab and some notions of scale up, and it's a case by case basis. Sometimes it's obvious it's going to work. Other places you want to have a pilot scale process at least in place before investments are discussed.
Yeah, and that's the great thing as well, because we can basically make people fit for purpose, if you like, in pitching to investors. We can make sure we understand what people are looking for, but also getting the pitch perfect.
Absolutely.
Well, it's always a delight. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Cheers.
So thank you again to Pratik for being my very special guest again here on the show. If you have any thoughts or any comments, you can contact us via the Envisionation.org website. Do pop along there. Now there are lots more videos in this series looking at not just the issues, but also on a positive thing, the opportunities that do exist. But for me for now, thanks for being my guest. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.